Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I make my site model and hopefully bring some tips, tricks and value to help you when you're making yours. So the way that I start the site model is by getting a piece of foam board from the university and using the CNC machine to kind of cut it and mill it. And we can already see kind of the contours that have been placed in through using the machine at the university workshop to create these typography kind of indents already into the foam board. And then what I plan to do is to print out sheets of my site and place them on top, so I kind of have a rough guide to help me when I come to actually carving it out using the chisel later on, as you'll see in the video. So now that I've laid out all of the pages and the prints that are to scale onto the site map, onto the site model, the next task is to kind of use my pencil to trace all of the, or as much as the elements on each of the pages onto the model itself, before I then go on to chisel and actually carving out the site onto the foam board. So yeah, as you can see, you've got some of the fish farms, the open land, the road and the bridge. And this is the main River Sile coming through, that my scheme's going to be kind of in this area here. So yeah. Okay, so as expected, nothing ever goes to plan with this sort of things. And I tried looking in the garage for like half an hour, 45 minutes to find the chisels, and I can't find the chisels. So I'll just have to continue tomorrow when I find them. So it's now the next day, and I wanted to quickly show you some of the work that I've been doing this week that I took to my design studio tutorial in relation to my project. So before the studio, I mean, a couple of things have changed now in terms of the functions, but before the studio, I wanted to kind of do some more project development and kind of talk about which functions I want to activate with my scheme. So this kind of consists of the hydroelectric power station, which has now been reconsidered to not be included in the proposal, a water and sediment monitoring lab, education hub, museum for Venetian hydrology, an auditorium, research center, experiential rooms, fish farmer settlements, and observation decks. And because my scheme is located in the lagoon, I also wanted to do some research in terms of the foundations. And after speaking with the structural engineer, we came to a conclusion that I'll be using pile raft foundations. And he showed me some of the diagrams just to explain it further for me to gain a greater understanding. And this is a Napoleonic survey of the lagoon of Venice itself. So kind of seeing that this is the kind of the site that I'm working with, and we already see some of the existing elements such as the River Sile that I'll be integrating within the proposal itself. but kind of referring back to and retracing the old Piave, and like it says on the top of the page here, kind of creating a phantom, and the pre-existing elements of the lagoon will actually be dictating the structure and the form of my scheme, which I've already designed. So it kind of works really nicely with the narrative that I'm beginning to put together. Again, kind of retracing that Napoleonic map, and from on this side we can see that I've traced the wing of the design that you'll see, I think, in the next page or two, of where this trace has come from, that wing. And the strategy that I'll be using in order to create the sediment beds is through concentration. So by letting the sediment laden in the water flow around the lagoon, don't actually know where the sediment's going to end up, but if I take the position that I'm going to trap the sediment in sediment lagoons, then I'm concentrating the sediment material, which I can then quarry and distribute in areas of the lagoon that particularly need the sediment itself. And on this side, some more kind of geographical and landscape things that I'll be integrating within the scheme. And I've been looking at some river restoration techniques, and it's been this whole kind of river restoration manual online, but taking in particularly the notion of weirs and sediment beds for my scheme, and how I can kind of integrate those from the forms that I've designed, and I'm going to kind of merge with the existing landscape of the lagoon itself. And again, this is kind of that sketch, that's where that trace came from. This is part of the design that you can see on the next page already. Kind of, this is the form of the building, but then these are the weirs that are going to be kind of integrated within the lagoon in order to bring that fresh water from the river, to bring also with it sediment, in order to support the growth of the ecosystems within the Venice Lagoon. But yeah, that's where this is from. And then kind of trying to understand how I can design some sediment beds, sediment pools between the spaces of the weirs and my building, and how I could also create those connections in between. What are these spaces? How can they be used? How can people actually feel like they're a part of the lagoon, and that these are not two separate things, but they're also joined. They have that landscape connection, but they also have these physical connections that bring them together. And some initial adjacency kind of conceptual diagramming of the spaces that I wanted to have. So the water monitoring lab, underwater lagoon observatory, hydroelectric power station, which is now being rethought, lobby, museum, education hub, fish farmer settlements, and again on the top floor we'll see the research center, observation decks and auditorium. So gaining a greater understanding of the spatial layout of the scheme and how I can bring it all together. And this is a conceptual kind of adjacency to that, sorry, a sectional adjacency to that. Still conceptual, but we can now begin to see kind of a greater understanding of how people will be using these spaces in a way through the section drawing or the section collage. And in studio, we got sent an email very, very late whilst we were in studio, our tutor sent an email to say for us to create some initial interior renders, initial interior views. So just photoshopping, kind of collaging some preliminary ideas and concepts. So let me just take it back quickly. This was for the education hub, seeing people at different levels. How can they be utilizing the spaces and working with the form of the building? So the form acting, yes, as an envelope, firstly, but secondly, as an interactive kind of, I don't want to say tool, but a catalyst to get people much more integrated within the scheme itself. And the museum, again, kind of using the idea that I had of a kind of fish skeleton, and how can that be kind of dissected, but also conversion, merged into the building itself, and how people will be using those spaces. So yeah, that's what I've been up to this week. And back to the modeling.